I've just gotten some new gear, so I've gotten this new stick. Yes, I'm one of those people that has a fucking selfie stick now, so don't at me, but it just creates for a little bit more of the vibe that I'm looking for. This is a golden hour. And I think that before we get into any talking, the first rule is always it's coffee time first. Hey guys, so welcome back. This week I wanted to talk a little bit about finding your own voice. And I've been thinking about this mainly just because I've started to do something a bit creative with these videos. And I was thinking about what I even wanted to say or what are my interests. So I've been developing some strategies to help me figure out what my taste is. I think that working on developing your own taste and what are the things that you're interested in, what books can you recommend to others, what's your favorite food, all those things, they help you feel more confident in yourself and in your own identity. So the first strategy is looking at what you're consuming. And I sort of had to reflect a lot about what content I'm actually taking in every day. Like, what books am I reading? And even the people that you're hanging out with, like what kind of conversations are you having with the people around you? Is that actually making you sort of more inspired and thinking deeper and about your life and developing you as a person? I remember even going through a phase where I just really was so sick of listening to music. Like, I just didn't want to listen to music anymore because I felt like I'd heard every song over and over. So much music that you just have never heard. And like, I know this sounds like so obvious, but I think we forget just how much like content there is out there on the internet. I think music just has a way of like connecting to everyone, like whatever emotion you might be feeling. And I also feel like when you discover a song that you really like, there's just like a period of a few weeks where you're just always listening to that song and you feel like really motivated and really inspired. And that feeling can be available to you at any time, but you just need to go keep searching and keep exposing yourself to new content. So that's what I've done like with music. So even just starting out with some really like classic older artists to explore, you know, some music history. Literally click play on their album like while you're doing stuff around the house, while you're going to the gym, and every now and then like a song will really speak to you and you'll be like, yes, like I love the song, oh my god. After that, just like make sure to collect it. So just create a playlist or create something where you can just dump everything that you see and that you're exposed to. It's this sort of like just little collection for yourself. Okay, next two is just trying to be more outward focused. So I listened to a podcast the other day and it had someone called Robert Greene on the podcast, and he was talking about how he's written this book called The Art of Seduction. And in this book, he basically says that people who are really great seducers are people who are very outward focused and really focus on the person that's in front of them rather than thinking about themselves. So he kind of drew a bit of an example of like imagine that you're like on a date and the whole time you're worried about like what that person thinks of you and what you look like, and have you said something stupid, and like do they think you're super weird? Whereas like the other person, like they are intently listening to you and trying to pick up on the cues that you're like, just pick up on different cues, pick up on the things that you like, and then match those interests in conversation. And that way, that's how you kind of become attracted to someone, because you notice like how much they're taking interest in you. They notice the details about you. And so it's the same with when you're going about life. So instead of I guess being very caught up in your internal monologue of like, oh, like, do I look really ugly today? Like, have I just like worn the shittest outfit today? Like, did they think I was like really rude when I said that? So I'm kind of focusing so much on what's going on inside as opposed to observing the stimulus that comes your way as you're going about your life and in conversations with people and when you're listening to music or you're on the train, rather than thinking about your own thoughts on that train. Maybe look outside and just people watch, you know, like that stuff is so fun. So while you're doing that, it can kind of trigger more thoughts and like more inspiration to come your way as you're actually more acutely observing the world. So a lot of us are guilty of that, and I think more and more we're just so caught up in ourselves, and we're so caught up in like what people think and how we're being perceived. And rather than thinking from our own lens, we're thinking from the lens of the people who are actually observing us. So that takes away a little bit from being in touch with our own true voice. Like, no one's going to be really anxiety free and like never going to care about what anyone thinks and like what anyone is observing right now. Like, you always got to be conscious of yourself when you're out there in the world, and conscious of social situations, but trying to step outside of yourself and trying to step into the world around you, it can actually bring in more inspiration. So the next one kind of is like linked to my first one. I think I briefly touched on it, but it's taking notes. So usually like we kind of go about life and maybe we do see something that we like or something that like sparks our interest, but we just kind of make a little small mental note of it and then we've forgotten it. There's just so much content and stimulus being like put into our brain at any one time that it's so easy just to like forget so many things. So what I've started doing is just making note, like literally put it into your phone. Obviously make a mental note, like be conscious and be like, oh, that was cool. And like write it down. And over time you can kind of go back to it and it can trigger like some more inspiration and more thoughts. By collecting it, you just have all these things that you can share with people. A lot of times people will be like, oh, like, what's your favorite movie? Or like, what's your favorite book? And you just like can't really remember. So you'll be like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know, but rather than being like, oh, I don't know, you can be like, yes, like I love this author. Like I loved this book. I loved what it said about this. And that already makes you more interesting. And even every time that I reflect on that list, I'm like, yeah, like I love those things. Like that's so me. And it just makes you more confident in like having an identity, having a take, having things you can recommend to other people that are kind of indirectly sharing a piece of you with them. Okay, and then lastly, the fourth one, I mean, it's kind of like 4 and 5, but like they're sort of linked. So the first one is reading. I sound like a grandma. I set myself a reading challenge to read 40 books this year. It is like 3/4 of the way through the year and I've gone through like 9 or 10 books. So again, don't at me, but it's the intention that counts. So no one's gonna be perfect. I think when you go into a story, there's something about the story that can really connect to you and just connect to that deeper internal part of you and make you think. And that's the whole point, you know, like the more you think and the more you reflect about how things make you feel, that's how you can kind of further develop your own voice. And then the second one, and then the last one is less social media. Sometimes it's good because it gives you inspiration, and I think there's a way that you can curate like your Instagram and like the things you're exposed to that inspires you and sees I guess the creativity of the world and what people are doing out there, and just motivate you to kind of pick your shit up a little bit. But then you can also go too far the other way, and then you're just like doom scrolling, and especially at night before you go to sleep, and you just wake up feeling so clouded and like your brain just feels heavy. So you just want to be careful not to get into that side, because I think that makes you just feel like shit. And being on social media, like consuming all this like photos and videos, you're actually kind of you're stepping into someone else's world. Like you're almost observing as somebody else. You sort of forget yourself, you know, you're just like go deep into this other space. And that's why it's good. Like at the end of the day, like you've been working or you've been at school all day, and then you can just zone out and like take in content, but you do forget yourself. You know, you're not thinking critically, you're not thinking your own thoughts at all. So I would say sometimes it can have a negative effect. So just balancing that and making sure you're trying to use social media in a way that actually enhances things for you rather than like ruining your brain. I've like recommended these things because I've noticed how much it makes a difference for me when I'm consciously trying to implement these things in my daily life. Obviously it takes effort, and it's so easy to consume content so passively. I think good comes easy, so I think we need to actually try and discipline ourselves. I'm definitely far from perfect, but I think this stuff has really helped me, and I hope that it can help you guys as well. And yeah, I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this. So if you do anything different or you've got any ideas, put them in the comments below. And I am going to be releasing another video next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos from me. See you guys.